I love these stories about Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan's statements that make the press all the time are like, Joe Rogan gets stoned and makes passive comment, news at 11. The big news is that Joe Rogan called Donald Trump a man baby and said that he's on Adderall. And I'm like, I don't know if I completely disagree with Joe. I mean, usually I try to be a little more tactful. Joe's a comedian, so he's a little more edgy, I guess. I mean, I guess we get offensive sometimes on the Timcast After Hours Uncensored show. But Joe's right in essence. Donald Trump very easily gets slighted. You know, he takes things personally. He's very much got an ego. That doesn't mean Donald Trump was a bad president. I think it was bad in a lot of ways. I think Ron DeSantis would be better in a lot of ways. But there's also this idea that Donald Trump was taking Adderall or uppers or whatever. And it's like, yeah, probably. But come on, Joe Biden's taken way more. I mean, and if he's not, maybe he should be. But anyway, here's the actual story. Not about Joe Rogan. It's actually about the ecosystem and whether or not Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks is correct. And actually, I think he is. But hold on. Let me explain. Cenk is allowed to be right when he's right, but he's not right in the right way necessarily. He just sort of accidentally was right. Kind of. Okay. Here's what Cenk Uygur said. Fox News and Joe Rogan leaving Trump are the first signs that he is in real trouble. Without right-wing media, Trump melts into a ball of orange wax. Let me just explain why Cenk is wrong before I talk about why he is right. Joe Rogan never supported Trump. Joe Rogan has not had Trump on his platform. Joe Rogan has not endorsed Trump. When did Joe Rogan's show support this man? It did not. So Joe Rogan saying basically what he says all the time is not hurting Trump. Fox News, they were not pro-Trump either. They were very anti-Trump, and they were kind of forced to slowly turn around when they realized their audience hated them because the audience liked Donald Trump. Let me show you a bit about what Joe Rogan said, and then I want to talk to you about why Cenk Uygur is actually right. And I have a very big announcement. I may have included it in the title of this video. A very big announcement to the point of why Cenk Uygur is right. Newsweek says a video of controversial podcast host Joe Rogan. Newsweek, come on. I just did an op-ed for Newsweek calling out the January 6th committee for misrepresenting me and my statements. I was reading a news story about Trump, and they included it next to people calling for a red wedding. You're going to call Joe Rogan controversial? He is one of the most popular and prominent, if not the most popular and prominent stand-up comedians in the world, with the most popular podcast in the world. That's the opposite of controversial. It is the biggest. Everybody likes it. Some people don't. Anyway, accusing Donald Trump of being a man baby. During his show on July 14th, Rogan spoke to comedian Tom Segura about Trump, his actions as president, and rumors about his behavior. Ultimately, he came down and said Trump's a man baby. Even as you watch him as president, he was full of effing energy, Segura said. They say he slept like 4 hours a night. He was one of those people. Rogan then interrupted to say that Trump was on Adderall and asked Segura if he believed Trump was using the drug. Yes, only because there were multiple people who used to work on The Apprentice that were like, Trump was effing gassed up for shoots. This is because he has trouble reading. He would struggle to read prompter or script when he was just sober. So they would give him that, and he would dial in more on the reading because he gets very bored. He would get bored at the CIA briefing in the mornings. He would go, I don't want to read that. You effing read it and tell me. They would have to make it more engaging for him because he would just tap out. The duo then began speaking about Trump's senior advisor, Kushner, and how he dealt with the president during his time in the White House. So apparently Kushner would he says you have to make it in waves. 2 good stories about Trump, 1 bad one. Otherwise, he's not going to listen. That is how they would tell him bad news. They couldn't just go in here. They couldn't just go, here's a bunch of bad news. Of course, Rogan replied, he's a man baby. He's an effing toddler, Segura added. Now, this is Cenk Uygur and the left all going like, oh, this proves that Trump's done, which is complete nonsense because, like I mentioned, Joe didn't support Donald Trump, but you know who did? Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, Laura Loomer. Just a few names of the people of prominence who have since been purged from these platforms. Now, the question is, Without the massive support of a huge network like InfoWars, can Donald Trump win again? Well, Donald Trump gained something like 12 million voters in 2020, but Joe Biden gained more. I know there's a lot of questions around the election. There's like 2,000 mules. I think there's questions of rule changes, as Time Magazine called it, the shadow campaign. Now, that greatly benefited Joe Biden. These universal mail-in voting. One of the things that's popped up commonly is the post office, the postal workers issue presidential endorsements and then handle ballots. And it's like, that shouldn't be the case. But anyway, I digress. I think there was a lot of, I'll just put it this way. Corruption. There were rule changes, and this allowed Biden to maximize his reach. And that's like the simplest way to put it. I believe the people who voted for Biden really did vote for him. And I think the Democrats cleared every obstacle to make sure every single one of those votes would go in for that reason. I think there are issues with universal mail-in voting, but here's my point. They nuked Trump's support in right-wing media with people like Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, et cetera. And ultimately, it may have hurt Trump. Without that massive media network, Trump might not be doing as well this time around. But I got to say, the news is so bad about Joe Biden. I'm not entirely sure that Cenk is 100% correct. He makes a good point, I think somewhat accidentally, because he's wrong in his facts, but he's right in essence. Which brings me to the major announcement that I'm going to make, and then we're going to talk about what's going on in this country. Dan Bongino tweets, incredibly honored to have the Timcast team join us at Parallel Economy. Andy Leiterman says it's official. Timcast.com no longer supports pro-censorship PayPal for new memberships. We are proudly rolling out support for censorship-resistant membership payments through Parallel Economy. Right there. We don't want to get censored. We do get censored. There are things we can't talk about on YouTube, so we put them on the Timcast Uncensored show Monday through Thursday at timcast.com. And then we have the Green Room Fridays, and that's like, somebody commented about the Green Room show, which is our Friday pre-show. So here's how it works. Monday through Thursday, after the show, we record the uncensored Timcast After Hours. Friday, we have behind the scenes pre-show with varying guests. So I think we just put up like Barnes and Viva Frei, and that's the Friday pre-show. And in it, like a whole bunch of just bannable things were said or whatever, or maybe not really, but, you know, put in the line and people are like, I loved these lines. And I was like, oh, wow, we really can't say that on YouTube. So this is what we're doing. PayPal's off the website. If you're a member at timcast.com and you use PayPal, you're fine. Your account will not change. If you want to get off PayPal for the time being, you have to just re-sign up through Parallel Economy, which is now the default. Parallel Economy is affiliated with Rumble, Dan Bongino. It opposes censorship, which means we don't have to worry about these weird Silicon Valley companies coming and shutting us down. We are putting our money where our mouths are. I legitimately believe in free speech. I believe we have to support companies that will stand up. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Rumble and Parallel Economy in terms of the big vision. Maybe they enact some things we don't like in the future, but for the time being, let's put pressure on these Silicon Valley companies. This is what we are doing. When I saw Cenk say, without the right-wing media, Trump's going to lose, I'm like, you know what? He's got a point. He absolutely does. This is why they nuked Alex Jones. Did he really violate any rule? Look, he was calling out the machine and the establishment, but let's be real. Alex Jones says crazy stuff all the time. 5G cell towers and alien animal hybrid weird stories and whatever. It was entertaining to a lot of people, but he was a big Trump supporter. And truth be told, Alex got a lot right. Epstein, for instance, on big things. So they had to get rid of him. They had to hobble him because he was influential. Now, people have said, Tim, you're next. Well, I don't think we're next. I think there are some shows that are next. And I think after them, then we're next. They have to get rid of the content that we produce here. So this is why at timcast.com, we use Rumble, the Rumble player. We used to use Vimeo. We used to use Vimeo on timcast.com. We switched to Rumble. Not only is Rumble less likely to censor us, it's possible. I really doubt it. They're also cheaper. Better business decision. Parallel Economy. not only are they less likely to shut us down and seize our money, they're cheaper. It's better business all around. So this is what I'm saying. We put our money where our mouth is. I know that they want to use the powers of Silicon Valley to destroy our ability to have a conversation. It's not just about Joe Rogan or Fox News leaving Trump. It's about the machine shutting down anyone who doesn't as well. And that's why they censor so many people. The reason why they ban those who say learn to code. The reason why censorship is such a big issue. The reason why Twitter being bought by Elon Musk was such big news. Bring Trump back. Give Trump the ability to speak. They take it away. They can't allow that influence. That's why I would say this. If you haven't already signed up at timcast.com and you do want to support us, you can now support us and Dan Bongino and Parallel Economy and Rumble. It's all happening at the same time. When you sign up, not only are you allowing us to have funds to take over Times Square, for instance, to create new shows, to do Timcast IRL. It costs a lot of money to fly guests out, but we're going to keep doing it. Hire more journalists, make better content, and push the marketing. That's what your membership allows. Plus, we've got the nonprofits in the work. It takes forever to set up nonprofits. No joke. Like years. But we've got them. It's coming soon. You're also, when you give that money at timcast.com, it is also going to funding Parallel Economy. Parallel Economy as a processor takes a small percentage. They need more business. This is just a start for us. We use their service. This makes their business stronger. They can then continually offer expanded service to more and more people. And then one day you will wake up and you will be like, PayPal stopped censoring people. Why? Because they are bleeding users. Because anybody who wants to start a business is going to say, why should I risk you shutting down my business and freezing my accounts for my opinions when I can go to a company that is cheaper and won't do it? How do we get to that point? For one, support Parallel Economy directly. Utilize them. Hit them up. Whatever. I don't know if they're ready for full-scale launch. We use Rumble Cloud. Support them. Use the Rumble player. It's not just about Rumble as like a forward-facing platform like YouTube. It's about the infrastructure. We use the Rumble player for our members-only content. We use Parallel Economy. When we, as a business, use them, they get revenue, they get support, which allows them to expand. Then I shout them out because they do right by us, and we are building the Parallel Economy so we will not be shut down. Because Cenk Uygur is right. When the right-wing media is gone, Trump is in trouble. Now, what he thinks of as right-wing media, I don't care for his terminology. He comes out with this tweet right here. He said, I said Joe Rogan right-wing media made me laugh. That's all I said. And Cenk goes, are you still pretending to be left-wing or moderate or whatever you're pretending to be these days? Is it now in the grifting manual that you have to pretend to not be right-winger as you spew every right-wing talking point? I said, Cenk, you were wrong about my claim on January 6th, and I was proven right. You need to actually come have a conversation. We'd love to have you out. But he won't do it. Why, Cenk? Come over, man. How is it that I've been on his show, I think twice? I've spoken with him several times. He won't come out here and actually talk about what he thinks is true. It's mind-numbing to me. Now, I can say he runs his own company. I get it. They're going to be like, Tim, why don't you go on his show? And it's like, I get it. It would be really, this is a legitimate issue. I work 16 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and I work 8 hours Saturday and Sunday. I literally can't just fly out. The same is true for San. Mad respect. If I can say to a lot of these lefties who won't come on the show, they've no reason. But, Hassan's outright like, dude, I do my own show. And I'm like, I know, dude. Like, I'm not going to blame you for that. You're right. I do my own show. It's like, if Cenk was like, why don't you come out here? I'd be like, I get it, man. Cenk runs a company. I run a company. Really difficult for us to just up and leave to try and make something like this happen. Maybe it needs to. The one thing we can do, I mentioned this to Hassan, is like, we'll get the trailer set up and ready to go, try and figure something out. Like, never happens. And the reality is, driving the trailer, it's like a 48-hour trip, hauling a mobile setup, and then flying out takes the weekend, and it is a brutal thing to fly across the country, which is why we do most of the stuff we do on the East Coast. Austin was a bit difficult, but not too difficult. When we went to New York, To make that happen, the event was on a Saturday. We do the show. We wrap the show Friday at like midnight because once the show ends, IRL, we don't just like say, that's it, everybody. No, like we have to do other stuff. Lydia works longer than everybody else doing the editing. And then I'm there for another like half hour to an hour. Then I go to bed and I'd have to wake up at like 7 a.m. to get an early flight. So we flew private. Flying private costs about twice as much as it would cost to fly commercial. That's the kind of thing we have to do. And we can do it because East Coast trips are short and easy. But if we were to fly to, say, Austin, it's not 2 times the cost. It's like 4 times the cost. So we just can't do it. Then we have to fly commercial or drive. And it's like, so I can respect that. All right, you get it. But anyway, let's address this. Pretend to be left wing? Yeah, I don't say I'm anything. I mean, I say the Political Compass meme channel called me Lib Center, which is probably accurate. But when you're in a cult, when you're entrenched, like Cenk is, everything's right wing. Me saying something like, oh, the New York Times reported a Ukrainian court said Ukraine meddled in the 2016 election. That's a right wing talking point. It's like, yo, the New York Times said that. Spare me. Here's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about parallel economy. I think this is big, big news, and I'm going to be shouting it out nonstop all week. So many people have hit me up and said, I'd love to be a member at Timcast, but I ain't using PayPal, so we introduced Stripe. The thing about Stripe integration is that all this stuff is built. PayPal and Stripe are built, so it was relatively easy to implement those for memberships. There's plugins that integrate instantly. Parallel economy is new, and they need support. We have to prove this works, which means we need people to sign up at timcast.com so that parallel economy starts building out their infrastructure as much as we do. We need parallel economy to get to the point where you open up the website, you log right in. You log right in just like PayPal or any other service, and it's that easy. Then all of a sudden, you're going to see people like Cenk and these other leftists being like, this is hate speech. You're not allowed to say these things. And you're going to be like, what are you going to do about it? We're using infrastructure that's headquartered in Florida under Governor Ron DeSantis that has vowed not to censor us. And they might. I bet they will censor some people. I'm not going to sit here and pretend everybody's perfect. But building the resilience is one of the most important things we can do. Because if we, the independent media, not just right-wing or conservative, but independent, moderate, libertarian, anti-establishment, cannot survive, cannot get the message out, then you're going to get Mitt Romney as president. Ugh. Or some kind of Hillary Clinton. There's other channels that have been censored that are not right-wing, right? I think anti-media has been censored in the past. Left-wing anti-establishment people who call out the war machine have been smeared by even the Southern Poverty Law Center. And they're all welcome to use the same platforms. I see Jimmy Dore on Rumble. Jimmy's fantastic. Jimmy's a socialist. Yes, because if you oppose the machine, we good. Let's have a conversation and be honest about what's going on. But Cenk Uygur is the machine masquerading as anti-establishment. That's why he says things like this. Bro, you are welcome to come on the show. And I will call out how the segments you've made about me have all been completely wrong. Like when I did a segment on IRL about how conservatives tend to be more attractive than liberals. It's based on like 5 different studies, and we pulled them up. So what happens? You get Anna Kasparian calling me ugly and insulting me and then being like, but he is right. It's like, okay, why are you mad at me about me being right? You just want to hate? You had Cenk and Anna talking about, I said, the January 6th defendants who were motioned in with the door opened will probably not be convicted because you can't prove trespassing. And they laughed and said I was dumb. And then one guy got completely acquitted. One guy, his charges dropped, and it's only getting started, baby. Now the Colbert staff and associates just had the prosecutors declining to press charges because no one told them to leave. It's exactly what I said. That's not a left or right wing position to be like, the facts are that trespassing requires a warning before you can arrest them for it, and they weren't given one. The people fighting and rioting, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who had the cops motion them in. That guy got acquitted. So I was right. But Cenk lives in a bubble, man. He lives in a bubble. This is why it's so important. Go to timcast.com, be a member. You're not just supporting me. You're supporting the people who work here at Timcast, our editorial team, our shows. You're supporting Rumble. You're supporting Parallel Economy. Use Rumble. Use Parallel Economy. We are just getting started. There's more coming. There's more coming. We are working round the clock to implement tons of infrastructure changes. The reason why we are doing such a hard drive for Timcast.com memberships is because of YouTube. That's right. People are saying things like, well, if you are so concerned about censorship, why are you still using YouTube? Two reasons. One, I don't want to cede prominent battleground culture war territory like YouTube for the sake of principle. To be like, well, we're going to lose, but it feels good to do it. No. There's strategy and there's tact. And that means some things we can't say on YouTube. Fact. And we will say, go to timcast.com, share it with your friends, because we are going to unleash the beasts. Cast Castle, our vlog show, we're turning it into a 22-minute. It's going to be interesting. It's a grand experiment. Comedy bits will be on YouTube that will be funny and shareable, just like how we do at Chicken City. And at Timcast, we want to do this thing, a sitcom, the A-plot, a funny joke mocking interpersonal drama and culture war issues, and the B-plot, actual vlog material behind the scenes, fun hangouts. So it mixes the real and the fake, but it makes a unique show. It's going to be at timcast.com, and we're going to be rolling out the expanded show, a full show. And that's what I was thinking, like, the vlog is great. Some people like it. But if 10% of the vlog subscribers paid $10 a month to watch a full show, like if it was The Office or 30 Rock, it would be sustainable and it would be a business. What we're doing now, we're never going to win the culture war. We need to beat them at their own game. So here's what I imagine. In 1 year, someone will come to timcast.com and say, parallel economy. I will sign up, whatever that is. Parallel economy will be a massive company. They'll be rivaling Stripe and PayPal. They'll be dominating and slow. I don't mean like the biggest, but taking market share. We will have 52 episodes of a 22-minute show with fresh jokes and circumstances and behind the scenes all in one. And people can binge watch it because it'll be funny. And we want to just have a blast. And I imagine it'll be a rough around the edges to start, but we're going to get better at it. We're going to improve it. And then in 5 years, we're going to have millions of subscribers. We are going to have an entire massive compound producing movies, documentaries, new TV shows, and it's all going to be anti-woke. And it's all going to call out the lies. And we're going to have a news machine and investigative journalists. Bring it. And that happens, the better we do. Many of you I know are not members at timcast.com because we haven't done a good enough job to convince you you should be. That is fine by me. I will prove it. We will do it. We will get it done. And it's not just about the content. It is about the machine. I hope many of you sign up simply because we are implementing parallel economy. I hope many of you sign up because it will help challenge PayPal. I hope many of you sign up at Rumble and utilize parallel economy because that's what needs to happen. When I see the Daily Wire doing as well as they're doing, good. I want them to have 1 billion subscribers. I want them to own the whole market because they are pushing back on the corruption. We're going to do the same thing, and I hope more people do. Look, Cenk and all of his cohorts, they're welcome to come on the show and talk about all this. But you know what? Right there, it says it all. He's right. Without the independent media apparatus, will we ever get a Donald Trump? He was memed into office. He had support from independent media, and they're trying to take that away. And you will end up with a media ecosystem dominated by people like Cenk who don't care about the truth, who don't do research and are consistently wrong. Now, of course, people have said, Tim, remember when you thought Roe v. Wade wouldn't be overturned? Remember when you said Trump was going to win? And I'm like, yeah, my opinions on what might happen being wrong, fine. I'm wrong on a lot of my predictions. I don't care. The facts we get right. Our assessment on the facts of what they mean may be incorrect because we're not psychics. But Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks, they're literally just wrong. They're like, January 6th, those people were stepping on broken glass. Yo, I didn't even say that. I literally said the people who were fanned in by the cops who opened the doors, even AOC agrees. But they don't know. Do not let them be the dominant media player. Got a lot of work to do. But I'm excited for it. Thanks for hanging out. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and we'll see you all then.